Our life is not for the benefit of ourselves, but our life is for the benefit of others by losing ourselves.
Evam maya shrutam ekasmin samaye.
The wisdom of the great lady, the wisdom of the Dakini, arise and speak to us all. Happy, happy Dakini Day. Also for those in the other religious persuasion, the persuasion of the Christ, the great feast of the Assumption. The Assumption, the Blessed Virgin Mary being brought to heaven in their complete faculty, body, soul, and spirit. Physically celestialized or brought to heaven. And today, we also express physically to every one of you the Dakini, or the wisdom of the Dakini. I like to take a little caution in trying to explain this. Perhaps many of us who are not in this level of spirituality, because if you're not in this level of spirituality, the chances are you might be misled into the understanding of the Dakini spirituality, the Dakini principle. When I speak about the appropriate level of spirituality, it is very important that you have taken the fundamentals of the Dharma, especially as practiced from the level of the Hinayana, the small vehicle. And then you have already passed on or passing through the great vehicle called the Mahayana, the great vehicle. Only then and there that it will be more appropriate for people to practice what we call the diamond vehicle, the Vajrayana, where the Dakini is a very, very important figure, the Dakini. Otherwise, you might think the Dakini is some kind of an enchantress in some kind of a netherworld or a sorcerer of sort. The Dakini is nothing like that. But having said that, when I say that it will be very important for people to practice the basic of things. What is the basic in the Hinayana? There are things that is very important to take note in the Hinayana. If you are really intent in really going deep into the Dharma practice, it is very important to go into the fundamental tenets of the Hinayana, or the fundamental tenets of the Dharma, the most fundamental things that you need to learn. Number one, it is very important to learn the truth. That now you have a body, you have a human body, and in the way your human body is right now, it is subject to impermanence, subject to decay, subject to death. In other words, now you are alive, and tomorrow you may be dead. You may be young, you may be old, or you may be very old, or you may be very young. But it does not matter whether you are going to die at an old age or young age. Death can come in at any time. So what am I trying to say? You need to appreciate your being a human body. I saw some guidelines saying that life runs fast. There's no more time, and time also runs very fast. If you look from a perspective of the small vehicle, it's important that the time is of the essence. You should not take your being a human being for granted. You should you should be aware that time, is of the essence. Time is running fast. There's no more time. And not everybody has a human body. It takes one to have a human body, a human incarnation, in order for you to go further into the state that is beyond death. We call that nirvana. The second important truth is that it is very important to know that everything is impermanent. Connected to the first, you cannot say, I'll do it tomorrow. And it is also very important to be detached from everything that we grasp onto. We need to recognize that those things are deeply impermanent. They're only there to last for the while. And another truth that is very important in this perspective is what you call the tremendous importance of karma. Whatever intentions you have in the mind, I'm not even saying that you have already done the intention, but whatever intention that you have in the mind, you have to be worried that whatever intentions that is, it will come to pass, it will come to fruition. It is very important to be aware of your intention, because intention creates effects. Good intention, can create good effects. Bad intention creates bad effect. What is a good intention? A good intention is an intention that will enable the happiness of another sentient being. A bad intention is something that you wish for, and it will be jeopardizing the happiness of other people. This is what we call in this Eastern parlance, this Dharma, this is called karma. We need to be aware that there is no point of getting attached to anything around you in samsara. Attached to consumeristic things, attached especially to yourself, to the illusion of the self. This attachment will simply make it impossible to get out of samsara, because attachment can create more and more attachment to the self. It can create more and more intentions that will create more difficulty for other people to live by. So this is the first phase that you need to realize. The importance of being a human being. The absolute importance of having a human body to be able to work with on your way towards enlightenment. Enlightenment means freedom from the self, freedom from misery, freedom from fragmentation, and also called freedom from idiocy. The importance also of looking at things changing, impermanent. Looking at the defects, limitations of everything in samsara. And also very, very important, the importance of being aware of the effects of karma. Karma is created because of delusion, the delusion of your ego. So these are the foundations that we need to be very clear about before you ever go into any other level. Then when this is clear, then you go into another level of bonding or samaya. It's called the way of the bodhisattva. The way of the bodhisattva means to say that the only reason why you are here is in order to help other beings to be free from suffering. one is able to forget oneself, and the attention is only on the well-being of the other person. The more profoundly you go into this level, which is called the way of the enlightened mind, which is compassion, in Sanskrit it's called bodhicitta. You can only go into bodhicitta if there is a firm conviction, not coming from the ego, because the ego cannot create a conviction. It comes from a more profound level of, if I may say so, it's called the soul, or maybe it is called the Buddha nature, the very nature within you that creates a very, very strong commitment to live only for the benefit of all sentient beings. This is called the way of the Bodhisattva. Before you come into the little way of the Hinayana, the small vehicle, then you move into a larger vehicle, which is called the Mahayana. The larger vehicle because redemption or freedom, or being an instrument of redemption or freedom of the other, will entail a bigger boat, not only a smaller boat, Hinayana, it will entail a bigger boat to use in order to go to the bigger or the greater or the vaster sea of samsara, to accommodate more and more sentient beings into the bigger boat. Go into that bigger boat, then you may be prepared for what you call the diamond vehicle. It's called the Vajrayana. This is the vehicle of the Vajra. The Vajra is the intensification of loving kindness, compassion, skillful means. It will bring you faster into that level. The more deeply you go into the Vajrayana, the more deeply you go into the eradication of what you call yourself, your ego. Then when you are in the Vajrayana, then you go into the expansion of refuge. You see, in the Hinayana and the Mahayana, you usually say, I seek refuge in the Buddha, I seek refuge in the Dharma, then I seek refuge in the Sangha. Up to the Mahayana, that is your refuge. But when you go into the more deep aspect of Dharma, which is called the Vajrayana, there will be an expansion of the refuge. There will be a sixfold refuge object. A deeper, a more profound treatment of the three jewels. So which is the Lama, the Guru, then the Yidam, which is the spiritual principle within each one of us, and then the Dakini. And the Dakini is one thing that I like to explain to you today. Today is Dakini Day, and it is also the commemoration of the Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary into heaven. There seems to be a very strong connection of the Dakini to the great lady of the Christian Church. The great doctor and psychologist Carl Jung once said that the Assumption of the Virgin Mary could be the greatest dogma that has been proclaimed in the Catholic Church, because it, if I would say now, it's really the ascent of the feminine into the higher realm. One of the main problems that we have today in our world has something to do with the way we look at the feminine dimension. There seems to be a marginalization of what you call the feminine. I'm not only talking about gender, I'm talking about a more profound level, not only about male and female, but I'm talking more of a profound level of energy that is expressed in what you call male and female balance and the sexuality of the two. The problem that we are having right now in what we call epidemic, or wherever there is a dysfunctionality happening in nature, whether it could be even an atomic explosion, or maybe a very big blast, like what has happened in Beirut quite recently, or a very strong hurricane that could be battling some place, in this planet. All these things have something to do with the imbalance of the energy. So you might invent all kinds of vaccines to seem that you believe that would cure the pandemic or the epidemic. But this kind of medicine or vaccine is just a small portion of what could help curate or give a cure, to this particular situation. The real cause of the pandemic, there is imbalance in the nature of the elements. So what are the elements? Air, earth, water, fire, and the other is space. The one that really accommodates all the elements. It is a problem of the balance of the elements. So when there is a balance or imbalance in the elements, it will create a kind of trouble, in the mindset of people or beings, sentient beings living in the samsaric realm. So that creates a lot of fight, a lot of tension in that particular realm. So the tension is also manifested by the war that is going on within that realm. It is a war of the spiritual beings in the elements. Particularly, it is a war between the Dakinis and the Mamos. The Mamos are all kinds of elemental spirits who are supposed to take care of these elements and protect these elements, as well as the Dakinis. So what is a Dakini? A Dakini, maybe from a more profound level, it is the feminine spirituality within you that is very important to be used to address, this balancing of the element. That's one way of looking at it. But the Dakini can also be expressed, as it were, like something that can be perceived, that can be looked at, as it were, like a deity, like a goddess. And each of the Dakinis, they have their own integrity. They have their own realm. So if you talk of 5 Buddha families, there are also 5 Dakinis in all the Buddha families. They are the ruling beings in the 5 elemental perspectives. So you have the Buddha, the enlightened being, the highest principle in that particular realm, and there are 5 of them. And the 5 Buddha families have their own consorts. The consorts are the female version of the Buddha. So you have the Buddha and the consort, who is also a female Buddha. And they are integrated by a higher Buddha, which is only singular. In the different traditions, they are iconographically portrayed, as a Buddha without any clothes, but blue in color, signifying the vastness, of that particular Buddha, like space. Some of the traditions, like in the Karji tradition, you have the Buddha, blue Buddha with a crown, of the 5 Buddha families, and holding a vajra and a bell, crossed like this, signifying the integral union of emptiness, compassion, expressed in skillful means. In the other traditions, you just have a Buddha without any clothes, but blue in color, signifying the vastness. They're the same, in essence. The expression may be a little different because of tradition, but they are the highest level of the Buddha family. Now the Dakini is one of the highest expression of the five Buddha families. And the most powerful, of all the Dakini that governs the universe is what we call Vajra Yogini. The Vajra Yogini is one who practices yoga. It is the Dakini who has mastered, all the yoga. You need to master this kind of yoga in order to master all the elemental factors. There are many reasons for the imbalance. One of the factors that contribute to the imbalance is the imbalance, of the mindset of the people living in samsara. When the people's mind is awry, they're out of control, then it creates an imbalance in the elemental factors. The elements creates a problem in space, problem in the water element, problem in the earth element, problem in the air element, and the problem also in the fire element. So when all these elements are awry, so all kinds of catastrophe happens. And it is also manifested, through the battle of certain beings within the samsaric level. It is a battle of the Dakinis, of the lower level, so to speak. We call it the worldly Dakinis. And the Mamos, they are the elemental factors. So when they're awry, all the people are affected by all of them. So what is needed there is really to go into the higher level. You need to bypass this kind of battle going on. You don't fight your battle and and fight them hands-on. According to the Shambhala story, when the kingdom of Shambhala will be reestablished, you need only two weapons to be able to win the battle and allow Shambhala to unfold. It's the weapon of the bell and the Vajra. You just need to have the wisdom of emptiness and the expression of emptiness, which is compassion. And this compassion and emptiness is expressed in skillful means. And if you do this, then you will have a very big contribution to the integration and the transformation of this planet by putting all the elements together. Vajra Yogini is a wrathful manifestation of the Buddha. The wrathful manifestation of Tara. Wrathful because it does not tolerate the idiocy, stupidity of people creating a lot of trouble in the universe. So when you invoke the Vajra Yogini, then the Vajra Yogini comes to the rescue and brings in, redemption, so to speak. Today we also celebrate the Assumption of Blessed Virgin Mary. The Blessed Virgin Mary is like a Dakini, but she is a peaceful Dakini. But she is a Dakini that's been elevated into the higher realm, saying that there's a need for the feminine spirit to cure the world. So that is the answer. So the Virgin Mary is somehow a synonym for the same spirit, the same blessings that we call, in the Vajrayana level of Dharma. In the Vajrayana, she is called Tara. Tara is a peaceful manifestation of the feminine dimension. It's a long way to go into the practice of the Dakini, but you need to begin in knowing the basics of the Hinayana, the basics of the Dharma, that there's no point in going through all this stupidity that we're going through. The solution to the sickness is not the vaccine. It's not money. The solution here is the change of mind, the change of heart, transforming the heart into a compassionate heart and the mind into a mind of wisdom, and to create all skillful means whose intention is only one, to create only the benefits of all sentient beings. This is the Dakini. The Dakini is not some kind of an enchantress, in a cave. That is only just symbolic. The Dakini is the feminine spirit in the world, the feminine spirit in you, feminine spirit in the universe. And that is personified by the Blessed Virgin Mary in the Christian tradition, and it is personified by Tara in the Buddhist tradition. In the more intense personification is the wrathful experience, manifestation of this feminine, which is the Vajra Dakini or the Vajra Yogini. You can only practice this if your mind is very clear that your only intention in the practice is to unconditionally work for the benefit of all sentient beings. You cannot do that because you want to create some kind of magic. This is to bring back, to redeem the feminine that has been imprisoned somehow. You see, in the last thousands of years, all the gods, were masculine. The gods of Hinduism, you have Vishnu, Shiva. In their avatar form, you have Krishna, and all that. And in the Buddhist tradition, you have Buddha. Then in the Jain tradition, you have Mahavira. Then in the Judaic tradition, you have Abraham, and you have the male god. It's called Yahweh. In the Islam, Yahweh became Allah. It's the same, only translated in Arabic. Allah means the male god. So all the gods are male. So the Dakini is the redemption of the world, not by killing the male, but making everybody realize that the female is very, very important to integrate with the male in order to have redemption. Otherwise, the samsara will just go to waste, and Shambhala cannot unfold. So go and contemplate into this wisdom that I'm saying. You've made up your mind that you live only for the benefit of all sentient beings. But if you live only for the benefit of yourself, then you don't have to go into this, because it will never work. And our life is not for the benefit of ourselves, but our life is for the benefit of others by losing ourselves. Balden Chawe Lama Rinpoche Dagi Jiwol Pedi Den Shuglo Kadin Jinboi Gone Jesuin De Kuzong Dungi Ngonzoi Chazoi So